You ever remember something so clearly, only to find out it straight up never happened? From memories about a completely different version of the fun song to Mr. Krabs getting a creature permanently stuck on his face as a new nose, these are the glitches in the Bikini Bottom matrix that everybody remembers wrong. Okay, so let's kick things off with the granddaddy of SpongeBob memory glitches, the one that probably sent a million people into an existential crisis. I'm talking about the legendary FUN song from the episode FUN.
F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me.
Seriously, if you grew up in the 2000s, this song is probably etched into your very soul. SpongeBob is trying to teach the tiny green bad guy, Plankton, what friendship is all about. It's peak wholesome SpongeBob, right? Just pure optimism. So hit me with it. What's the first line? F is for... If your brain instantly screamed, F is for friendship, U is for union, N is for anywhere and anytime at all, then my friend, congratulations! You've officially been bamboozled by the SpongeBob Mandela effect. Because get this, that's not the line. It never was. I know, take a moment, breathe. It feels so right, doesn't it? Friendship, union, it totally vibes with the whole coming together theme. It even sounds like something SpongeBob would belt out.
No, that's how you're supposed to feel.
But if you pull up that episode right now, you'll hear the real, actual lyric. F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for anywhere and anytime at all.
F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for anywhere and anytime at all.
Down here in the deep blue sea.
My jaw was on the floor when I found this out. I could have sworn on my precious Krabby Patty secret formula that union was the word. I can literally hear SpongeBob's voice singing it in my head. It's such a perfect poetic word for the bond he's trying to create with Plankton. Friends who do stuff together just feels a little clunky, a bit less magical, you know? But that's what makes this whole thing so bonkers. The version we all remember somehow feels more correct, more SpongeBob. Some folks try to argue, oh, maybe it was different in the UK or in some obscure DVD release. Every official source, every transcript, every clip on the official SpongeBob YouTube channel confirms the friends who do stuff together line. So where in Bikini Bottom did union come from? Did we all just collectively decide to give the song a lyrical upgrade in our brains? Did one person mishear it 20 years ago, spill it online, and then it became gospel for an entire generation? It's genuinely mind-blowing, and honestly, it gets so much crazier from here. Okay, so the FUN song is weird, right? But at least the episode exists. We can go back and confirm our memories are just a bit fuzzy. But what about the episodes that seem to have completely poofed out of existence? There are a surprising number of people out there who have this super vivid memory of an episode, or at least a scene where Mr. Krabs gets a brand new nose in the most messed up way possible. The memory usually goes something like this. Mr. Krabs is, of course, on the ground, probably sniffing around like a bloodhound for a dropped penny. As he's doing his greedy little sniffy dance in the sand, some tiny sea creature, maybe an anemone or something equally squirmy, latches onto his face. He tries to pull it off, but it's stuck like super glue, and after a struggle, this creature just becomes his nose, like permanently attached. Seriously, how messed up is that? It sounds like something out of a horror movie, not a show about a yellow sponge who lives in a pineapple. And yet, people swear they've seen it. Here's the thing though, this episode does not exist. It is not real. I've scoured the internet, believe me. I've gone through every episode list, every creepy fan wiki, every dusty old forum, every transcript. There is absolutely no record of a scene where Mr. Krabs' nose gets replaced by some parasitic creature. So what is going on here? This has gotta be a collective dream. It's such a bizarre and specific image that it feels like it had to have come from somewhere. Maybe it was a fan comic or some super weird early YouTube animation that got passed around, and over time, our brains just filed it away as a real episode. Or, and this is a wild thought, maybe it's a memory from a totally different cartoon that somehow got mashed up with SpongeBob in our heads. But seriously, what other cartoon had stuff like this? This one truly blows my mind because it's such a specific, unsettling image that so many people share. It's like we all had the same nightmare. And believe me, it gets even crazier. Let's talk about the episode that definitely exists, but has an ending that a lot of us thought was completely different. I'm talking about Pressure, a classic Season 2 showdown between SpongeBob and Sandy. The whole plot is basically a hilarious battle of wits and strength. to see who's better, sea creatures or land creatures. It's packed with amazing gags like SpongeBob's ridiculously aerodynamic body and Sandy trying to eat a Krabby Patty through her helmet. It all builds up to the epic climax where SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, and Mr. Krabs decide to venture onto dry land to prove their point. Now really think about the very end of that episode. What happens after Sandy swoops in and saves them from those evil seagulls? If your memory is anything like mine was, you remember a very specific conclusion. You remember a humbled SpongeBob, after getting mercilessly pecked by birds and saved by his squirrel bestie, turning to Sandy and admitting defeat. You remember him saying something like, "You were right, Sandy. Land creatures are better." It just feels right, doesn't it? It's the logical conclusion. Sandy proved her point in the most dramatic way possible. She was totally at home on the surface while they were completely helpless, flopping around like fish out of water. It makes for such a clean, simple ending to their argument. But here's the mindbender. If you actually watch the episode, that's not what happens at all. Not even close. In the real ending, after they're all safely back underwater, they have a much more wholesome, sweet conversation. SpongeBob thanks Sandy for saving them. Then Sandy says, "You know, everyone's best at something." And SpongeBob, being the pure-hearted hero he is, replies, "But no one's best at everything." They both apologize, SpongeBob for making her take off her helmet, and Sandy for daring them to go on land. They basically agree that they're both cool in their own ways, and everyone is good at different things. There is absolutely no admission of defeat from SpongeBob. This one truly gets to me because the misremembered ending completely changes the entire message of the episode. The real ending is about mutual respect, understanding differences, and appreciating each other's strengths. The fake ending is just, my friend is better than me, I guess. And while the real ending is definitely more in line with the show's overall positive vibes, I can totally see why we remember the other version. The image of Sandy flying in like a superhero and single-handedly fighting off those seagulls is just so powerful. It feels like such a definitive win for Team Land Creature that our brains just filled in the dialogue that would confirm it. Still, it's wild that so many of us collectively rewrote the moral of the story in our heads. Okay, we need to talk about Rockabye Bye Valve. Total SpongeBob classic, right? Like a top-tier episode in my humble opinion. SpongeBob and Patrick become parents to this little baby Scallop Jr. It's hilarious because SpongeBob is like the ultimate stressed-out stay-at-home mom, drowning in dirty diapers. And Patrick? Oh, Patrick is the epitome of the lazy, deadbeat dad, just chilling under his rock, glued to the tube. And then comes the ending. They see Junior fly off. They're all emotional, and it's this sweet, heartwarming moment. And then Patrick, this goofball, turns to SpongeBob and says, "What?" I swear so many of us remember a line that is just so wildly out of pocket for a kid's show. We're talking "let's make out." It's so absurd, so random, so completely bonkers that it's become this legendary Mandela effect. But here's the thing, it's not real. If you actually go back and watch it, Patrick's real line is, "Let's have another." He wants to raise another baby Scallop, and SpongeBob's face, priceless. He looks like he's seen a ghost because he absolutely does not want to go through that again. The real ending is still funny, and it totally makes sense. Patrick didn't learn his lesson. He's ready for round 2. So where did "let's make out" come from? Honestly, this one is so specific and so utterly bizarre that it couldn't have just been a simple mishearing. My personal theory? This has got to be the work of early internet meme culture. Someone probably made a hilarious fan dub, or a captioned screenshot, or just a joke on some random forum. And it was so funny that it just spiraled into legend. And honestly, a tiny part of me wishes the "let's make out" version was real. It would have been the most iconic, most controversial moment in SpongeBob history, hands down. Imagine the chaos. Okay, and now let's talk about Hooky. This episode, already one of the creepier ones from early SpongeBob. The whole vibe of those fishermen dangling fun rides, aka hooks, to lure in poor, unsuspecting sea creatures to their doom is just dark. Like genuinely unsettling. The thought of Mr. Krabs getting cooked, eaten, or even worse, ending up in a gift shop, chills people. Actual chills. The entire episode is just dripping with this sense of danger. And for so many of us, that danger felt even more real because of a scene we swear we saw but totally didn't. It's all tied to this one line from Patrick. When he and SpongeBob first get to the Carnival of Hooks, SpongeBob asks where everyone is. Patrick's response? "I don't know. There was one kid here earlier." And right after he says that, so many people, myself included, vividly remember this horrifying cut. A young fish kid, maybe the very one Patrick saw sitting on a hook. And then he's suddenly yanked upwards, screaming in terror, disappearing towards the surface, and his inevitable doom. This memory just makes the rest of the episode, with SpongeBob and Patrick playing on those hooks, feel so incredibly tense and reckless. But guess what? That scene, completely made up. It's not in the episode. When Patrick delivers that line, the camera just stays on him and SpongeBob. We never actually see what happened to the kid. The only hint we get are those sneakers lying on the ground. The rest, left entirely to our imagination. And as it turns out, our imaginations are way, way scarier than anything they could have actually shown. So why do we all remember this poor kid getting reeled in? My take? The episode does such a brilliant job of building suspense. Mr. Krabs' warnings are so graphic, and Patrick's line about the kid is so ominous that our brains just went, "Oh, I know how this ends." We literally created the scene ourselves because it just felt like it should be there. Honestly, I think not showing the kid is actually a more effective choice. It makes the threat more mysterious, more psychological. The episode was already spooky, but our collective false memory turned it into a genuine piece of children's horror. And it gets so much crazier from here. All right, let's lighten the mood a tiny bit, shall we? This one's less horrifying and more just plain weird. We're talking about the Season 3 episode, As Seen on TV. The whole plot is about Mr. Krabs making this super cheap, super low-budget commercial for the Krusty Krab. And SpongeBob? He's absolutely stoked because he gets to be in it. He thinks this is his big break, his ticket to the big time. He even stays up super late to watch it air at 3:28 a.m., totally glued to the screen. Now, think back to that commercial within the episode. We see Pearl, we see Squidward, we see Mr. Krabs, and we see the legendary Krabby Patty being made. And we see SpongeBob, right? He's the star fry cook after all. He's the main character. So many people remember a clear shot of SpongeBob at the grill, flipping a patty, his happy, famous face visible for all of Bikini Bottom to see. It's his shining moment, except you never see his face, not once. When the commercial cuts to the grill, all you see is SpongeBob's torso and hands from the neck down. He's holding the spatula, there's a patty on the grill, but his head is completely out of frame. Later, you just see his hat pop up in the order window. That's it. SpongeBob's big TV debut, the one that makes him think he's a massive celebrity, features literally zero FaceTime. It makes perfect sense that we would think we saw his face. He's the main character, the episode is all about him. Why on earth would they frame him out of the shot? It feels like a mistake, right? Our brains just autocorrect it, filling in his smiling face into our memory of the scene. But here's the genius of it. The fact that you can't see him is the entire point of the joke. The comedy comes from the massive disconnect between how insignificant his role actually was and how incredibly famous he believes he has become. He's so excited, telling Gary, "There I am, Gary, there I am," while literally looking at a shot of his own pants. If we actually saw his face, the joke just wouldn't land as hard. It's truly brilliant writing. Okay, so sleepy time? What an episode, right? SpongeBob literally goes ghost mode, just chilling and floating into everyone's dreams. We got Gary with his super smart library dream. Then there's Squidward, living his best clarinet-playing, fame-loving life, which, honestly, is peak Squidward. And Sandy, of course, is skydiving. But the one we have to talk about, the dream that lives rent-free in my head, is Patrick's. SpongeBob rolls into Patrick's dream, and what does he find? Just a vast, empty, blindingly white space. And there's Patrick, just chilling on one of those kiddie rides, the ones you put a quarter in and it just rocks back and forth. Pure bliss for Patrick. SpongeBob, being SpongeBob, tries to be all, "Dude, you're in a dream, you can do anything." But Patrick's just happy vibing on his little ride. Then the ride stops. Patrick needs another coin. He digs into his pocket, pulls one out and drops it. And it's gone, down a sewer grate. My heart just breaks for him. It's so perfectly pathetic and so Patrick. But here's where it gets mind-bending. Two tiny details from this scene have messed up with so many people's brains, including mine, for a hot minute. First up, the coin. What coin does Patrick drop? In the actual episode, if you go back and watch it, and trust me, I did, just to prove myself wrong, and it hurts, it's a silver quarter. But, and this is wild, a huge number of people, myself included, distinctly remember it being a brown penny. Like a what? Why would we remember a penny instead of a quarter? Honestly, I think it's because a penny just feels more fittingly tragic for Patrick. The idea of his entire dream world, his entire existence in that moment, hinging on a measly, almost worthless penny and then losing it? That's peak comedy. A real gut punch for a character like Patrick. A quarter has some value, you know? It's like, oh, he lost 25 cents. But a penny? It's the bottom of the barrel. It just amplifies the whole sad sack vibe of Patrick so much more. Maybe, just maybe, on those old janky TV sets we all watched SpongeBob on, a silver quarter looked kind of brownish. Second detail, Patrick's reaction. When SpongeBob starts showing off his dream powers, you'd expect Patrick to be totally amazed, right? Like, whoa, dude, you can do that? But nope. In the actual show, he's completely deadpan, totally unimpressed. This is where it gets really interesting because, again, our brains are just trying to fix it, to make it what we expect it to be. We're wired to expect characters to react with awe when they see something truly bonkers. But the real genius of that scene, and why it's so iconic, is Patrick's utter lack of a reaction. SpongeBob turns into a skyscraper. He makes a million clones of himself. He's doing all this wild, reality-bending stuff, and Patrick's just like, yup. Patrick is a simple man with simple pleasures. Nothing, not even the ability to bend reality and be a dream god, can compare to the sheer joy of his little kiddie ride. It's almost frustrating how our brains try to make things more boring sometimes, isn't it? Here we have another subtle visual Mandela effect, a tiny detail that a surprising number of people remember completely differently. It comes from the episode Muscle Bob Buff Pants, a story that preys on the insecurities of anyone who's ever felt like a wimpy weakling. SpongeBob, desperate to impress Sandy, wants to get muscular but finds that working out is, well, actual work. He wants a shortcut, which leads him to the glorious invention of anchor arms, the inflatable muscle balloons. But before he discovers this scam, he tries to impress Sandy Boy the old-fashioned way. The moment in question happens right at the beginning of the episode. Sandy comes over to SpongeBob's house while he's pumping iron with his stuffed animal barbell. He tries to show off for her, flexing his scrawny little arm with all his might. And this is where the memory splits. A large number of viewers swear that when he flexes, a tiny, pathetic little bump pops up on his arm. It's not a real muscle, just a small, sad little lump, emphasizing the futility of his efforts. But, and this is the part that will mess you up, if you actually go back and watch that scene in all its glory, you'll see absolutely nothing. His arm stays perfectly straight, like a little yellow noodle. No bump, no lump, no sad little muscle to be found. My mind was blown when I found this out, and honestly, it still is. So why do we all remember this phantom bump? Here's my personal opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Our brains are basically comedy geniuses. A tiny, pathetic bump appearing? That's way funnier, way more visually interesting than just nothing happening. I can literally see it in my head, the straining, the little poof, and maybe a tiny sad trombone sound effect. It's just a better joke. Like, props to our collective subconscious for being funnier than the actual show sometimes. Nasty Patty is, without a doubt, one of the darkest and funniest episodes in the entire series. The premise is insane. SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs think they've accidentally killed the health inspector with a disgusting, tainted Krabby Patty, and they spend the rest of the episode trying to hide the body. It's a stressful, paranoid, and hilarious descent into madness. Now picture the Krusty Krab during this whole ordeal. You have SpongeBob panicking, you have Mr. Krabs panicking and being greedy, and you have Squidward, right? He's there at the cash register being annoyed by the whole thing. He sees Mr. Krabs freaking out about the health inspector, rolls his eyes, tells him he's overreacting, and when things get too crazy, he probably says something like, "That's it, I'm taking the rest of the day off," and just walks out before the murder even happens. This memory is incredibly common. People remember Squidward's sarcastic commentary. They remember his complete lack of surprise at Mr. Krabs' scheme to create the Nasty Patty. They remember him wanting absolutely no part of it. But Squidward is not in the episode. He's not in a single frame. The Krusty Krab consists of only SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs, and the health inspector for the entire story. This might be the most mind-bending Mandela effect of them all. It's not just a misremembered line or a small visual detail. It's the memory of an entire character's presence and subplot in an episode where he is completely absent. How is that even possible? My theory? Squidward's presence is so fundamental to the Krusty Krab that our brains literally cannot process a major Krusty Krab story without him. He's the grumpy anchor, the voice of reason, well, his version of reason, in their chaotic world. A crisis at the Krusty Krab without Squidward there to complain about it just feels incomplete. It feels wrong. So our brains, being the creative geniuses they are, just wrote him in. Like, we created a mental fan fiction of the episode that included him because it felt like he should be there. The scenes people describe, like him getting annoyed, him leaving, they are so perfectly in character that they feel totally real. We know Squidward so well that we can accurately predict exactly how he would have acted in that situation, and our memory just converted that prediction into a full-blown fact. Mind blown. It gets so much crazier from here, so don't click away. last but definitely not least, let's talk about another absolute classic. An episode that makes you laugh and also maybe question your own oral hygiene habits. Something Smells. So, SpongeBob eats this absolutely disgusting sundae with ketchup, onions, and peanuts from a dying plant. Just thinking about it makes me want to gag. Naturally, he gets catastrophically bad breath. Everyone runs away from him in disgust. But because Patrick doesn't have a nose, he can't smell it, and he comes to the only logical conclusion. SpongeBob is ugly.
Maybe it's just because you're ugly.
This leads to that iconic, unforgettable scene. I'm ugly, and I'm proud.
Oh, proud.
I'm ugly and I'm proud.
Good.
I'm ugly and I'm proud. I'm ugly and I'm proud.
It's just a fantastic episode about self-esteem and, well, dental hygiene. The episode ends after SpongeBob and Patrick finally figure out the truth. They're not ugly, they just stink. They're overjoyed, like super stoked about being stinky. They run through the now dissolved movie theater chanting, "We stink, we stink." They burst outside and run right into Squidward, who's chilling, admiring some wigs in a shop window. SpongeBob and Patrick happily hug him, shouting,
Squidward!
We stink.
before running off into the distance, still cheering. The episode then just ends on Squidward, who's left standing there, looking confused and presumably covered in their stink. Or does it? Here's where the Mandela effect kicks in. There is a very persistent memory of a slightly different ending, an ending with the perfect punchline. In this version, after SpongeBob and Patrick run off, the camera holds on Squidward. He looks at them, then he looks at the wigs in the window, which have all withered and melted from the sheer power of their stench. He takes a sniff of the air, gets this look of disgust on his face, and then, in his classic deadpan Squidward voice, he says, "Yep, you sure do." And then the episode ends. Tell me, isn't that a much funnier, much more satisfying conclusion? It's sharper, it's funnier, it's just perfect. It feels like the ending the episode deserved, doesn't it? But here's the cold, hard truth. It's not real. The episode genuinely just ends with him standing there, silent and bewildered, as SpongeBob and Patrick disappear into the distance. And this is the ultimate proof, in my opinion, that the Mandela effect is sometimes just our brains being way better comedy writers than the actual show. The real ending is fine, it works, it gets the job done. But the fake ending? Oh, that fake ending is better. It's snappier, it's funnier, it's more conclusive. It's like our collective consciousness just decided to improve the show. How cool is that? If you enjoyed this video, you'll also like our video, The Episode That Solved the Random Land Paradox.